Well, you're very welcome to another vlog, and this time around I've taken myself down to the Burren in County Clare on the west coast of Ireland. And I've previously vlogged here in a video, and I'll put the link up there, the heart of the Burren. And in that video I visited this area, but it was a very brief visit. And I found the tree that arches over me at the moment. And I was thinking about that tree and thinking how special that memory was. So I decided to take myself down to the Burren to scout new locations, but also to revisit the small area of Irish Scots pine trees, a lot of them stunted and with unusual shapes, growing in the limestone rock here, the rock that typifies the Burren, a very large area in County Clare. Now I'll put that image that I took, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or so, up there now. And I can remember the foreground. I wasn't overly happy with it. It wasn't well considered. I think when I found this tree, I was just so delighted to find something so unusual up on a mound of rock on its own as such. And as you can see, it's not that big a tree, but it has a very unique shape to it. So this is my first composition, and I wanted to bring the limestone rocks of the Burren into play, and a little bit of vegetation that it fills every crack in the limestone here. So the foreground really is given 2/3 of the image here, with the tree featuring only in the top third. And I've probably cropped it a little bit tightly at the top there. Now let's put on a polarizer. I'm just going to pop that on in front there to see, can we bring out a little bit of richness in the foreground. Well, I'm shooting this video in infrared, and I've only moved about 2 or 3 yards to the right, but found a lovely little pocket of moss which is situated here in the frame. And I'm sure that'll show up better in colour, but nonetheless the infrared images that have been taken very much suit the Scots pine tree. And I am beneath the base of the tree here, so the rocks in the foreground are taking up the majority of the frame again, but the tree is very much the subject as it stands on the line between the ground and the sky. As I look around me, there's lots of Scots pine trees. And early March in the Burren, the temporary lakes, or turloughs as they're called, they're very flooded. In the summer, the water levels will go down and some of those turloughs will disappear altogether as the water is basically sucked into the limestone cave systems and underground flows of water beneath the ground here. And this is actually quite a fertile area. Cattle and horses and sheep do very well between the limestone rocks, for the vegetation is quite rich and dense. As I look to the right of me, the last time I remember there was a meadow down here. That meadow is flooded now. And I'm just thinking to myself, I wonder, are there any Scots pine trees on the shore? Well, I've wandered down to the shore, and the last time I visited this area, it was just a marshy meadow. And the trees really faded into the backdrop. I remember taking one image, I think it was over in this direction here, of a wall, which was well above the water level then. Actually, there was no water then. And now the water is surrounding that wall. You can see it here just in front of me. If I put my head that way, I hope you can see that. So we have beautiful Scots pine trees, either along the banks of the water or else standing out, as this one is, within the water. Now, light, I've no good light at all. It's so overcast. But as I look up now, there's a little faint hope in the sky of a little bit of light catching the foliage of these trees, which will really bring the image to life. Now, finding composition is another challenge I have here. The shrubs on the foreground beside the lake is really making it difficult to get a clear shot of any of the trees. And I'm being very careful not to break any twigs and to move carefully around this area, because there is a consciousness that comes with being in a place like this, and you realise you're in a special place, and it is a special place. I'm not sure whether you can sense the peace and the solitude and the calmness here. You can certainly see the calmness in the stillness of the lake. So the wind is right down this morning at sunrise. Now, there's no light, but I'm not concerned too much about that, because to be granted reflections and stillness like this is a real treat. And I've worked the foreground here, a different area from yesterday evening, and selected the stones that you see beneath in the foreground of the image, with this line here cutting through out to the left of frame. And the whole area of limestone terminates just at a point on the edge of the lake. A little bit of water to the left and to the right, and ensuring that the shrubs in the water don't cut into the reflection of Mullaghmore in the water. So that's the sunrise shot. I'm going to start working the scene, because there's one or two little plants that have been flooded with the high water levels, and might form an alternative foreground to the scene that we see behind us. Well, I spent the last 10 minutes or so just working the foreground with respect to its position in relation to Mullaghmore and the reflections. So in the bottom left hand corner then, I've placed the stones here coming in at a diagonal pointing towards the mountain. There's beautiful limestone slabs here and here, a little bit of light and water running just above the middle of the frame there. And I've obviously tried again to keep the reflection and the shrubs separate from each other. And although this is the video view, in the actual frame, these plants here are fully in frame, so they don't break the left-hand side of the image. Now that's without a polarizer. Okay, so let me reach in to my pocket, and if we look at what happens when we polarize the water, I'm going to turn that around. Okay, so the polarizer allows us to see the detail below the water, and it's cut out the reflections But what it's also done, it's cut out the light that leads us from the foreground into the background. Now, it does make the foreground pop a little bit more. There's no doubt about it. So I'm going to switch from video mode and we'll take that image. Well, another vlog has come to an end, and I'm ending this vlog here at Lough Derg, and these wonderful wooden piers, very suited to long exposures. This a 90-second exposure, lightening the water and the sky and accentuating the pier. A very minimalist image. So I hope you enjoyed the vlog. I hope you enjoyed that taster of a very special region of Ireland, the Burren. And if you like the content, please subscribe and drop me a comment. So until next time, thanks very much for watching.